Hi guys, so last week I released a video for the Antrim dress which was released by Itch to Stitch. You guys absolutely loved my version that I made last week, which I'll put here in case you haven't seen it yet. And it really encouraged me to make another, and I'm wearing my second one now. So I thought as I was making a second one, I would take you along the journey. So I filmed my process and I'm going to play that for you today. So just a quick disclaimer, I am an affiliate for Itch to Stitch and I did test this pattern. So I received this pattern for free in order to test it. Absolutely love it. I'm not biased at all. This is fantastic and I feel great wearing it. So all that to say, if you haven't purchased this pattern, I will have my affiliate link down below. So let's get into the process of sewing this up. So here's my sleeve for the Antrim dress. Now the sleeve is too small. This is a size 22, which is the size bodice I need, but I actually need a size 30. So what I could do is do a full bicep adjustment. So open it up, open it there and spread it. It'll mean the same length around here. What I think I'd quite like to do is a flutter sleeve. So all I need to do is make sure there's lots more excess down here. So how we're going to do it is we're going to fold it in half. So that fold line is my centre point. And now I'm going to separate it. Let's have a look. So if we draw some lines, you want to make sure that it is even on both sides. And we just want a few different lines like this. You can just do straight lines, but for some reason I've decided vertical lines. So I've got lots of red lines there now, and now I need to cut from the bottom up to the tip, but not quite there. You need a little hinge on the end because the top side is going to be untouched. Now what I'm going to do is spread it out, but you want it spread out evenly. I will put a bit of paper underneath and then we'll trace off our new pattern piece. So I've anchored the top bit there and the bottom bit, so that's not going to move, but the space in between needs to be equal on all parts so that it flutters enough. So I want 2 inches between that piece and the next piece. So just mark 2 inches along and line up. Same on this side. The reason I'm doing so many inches, I would probably normally do a little bit less, but I need a bicep adjustment, so this is going to help with that. Just to recap, I've drawn lines in equal spots, cut them up to the point but not through it, and then spread them 2 inches each. And then I've drawn a line all around there. So now I've got my new sleeve piece, but I'm going to trace it because obviously that's a little bit awkward to have it like that. So this is the shape of my new sleeve. So this bit round here has not changed. That's my sleeve piece. So here is my 2 band pieces. So these are my waistband pieces. This is the ruche piece, you can tell because it's wider and it will be squished down. And this is the lining piece. Now because I'm using quite a lightweight fabric like I did last time, this one. So I'm going to make this one a bit smaller. So this will be a size smaller than this one. And that'll just mean the ruching will pull tight and I won't have the issue that I've had with my first one with it flopping about. I'm going to cut a size 26 for my waistband piece, and that means for the ruche piece I'm going to cut a 24. So here's my centre front. So first things first, I want to lengthen this by 1/2 inch. I think it just needs 1/2 inch judging on my last dress. I'm just cutting that at the lengthen and shorten line, and we need to put some paper underneath. Do a line vertically like that. That makes it easy to place. So when you lengthen and shorten pieces, you'll often see a bit of a jog on the end, and you just need to smooth that out. At the bust area, I'm going to cut a 22, which is the bottom line. When we get to under the arm, I'm going to be grading it out to a 26. So you just have to smooth the line around, and that's graded from a 22 to a 26. Then over here, on here we want it at a 26. So we want it to end there, but we want it to start there, but you don't want to just do a diagonal necessarily. I'm just going to like round it off so it's smooth, like that. And then that'll be easy to sew. And I've just gone a tiny bit inside. And that's my front bodice done. So what you do to the front bodice, you need to do to the back bodice. But actually I'm not, because the back bodice was too long in the back for me. I'm actually just going to leave that as it is, in order to make sure these two side seams match up. Because I've lengthened this, but I haven't lengthened this. I've just extended the line a tiny bit each side. Hoping this is going to work, people. We want a 22 there and a 26 there. So here's my back piece. Just to clarify, I haven't lengthened or shortened it. I lengthened the front by 3/4 of an inch. I've just added like about 1/4 of an inch extra on the side seam. Hopefully I can ease that into the other side piece. And I've done a 22 up there, 22 to a 26 there. And then the only other piece is this big monster. We want a 26 at the top of the waist. And actually it can be a 26 all the way down because it's a nice wide skirt. Right, so here's my skirt piece, and you have one skirt piece for both the front and the back. Now the back on me does come up a little bit because of my big booty. So basically, I'm not going to alter this piece because I need it for the front as is. So what I'm going to do, when it comes to cutting out the back piece, I'm just going to cut probably about 1/2 inch below the length of here, and then grade to nothing to about here, so that the sides are the same over there, but the bottom of the back has a little bit more length, so a lot more even. I will have to hang the dress and let it drop, so I may need to trim it once it's done anyway, but that is my plan. So let's get on with cutting the fabric out. So I've cut my pieces out. My skirt is quite a bit shorter. It's about 6 inches shorter than my last one. And that is just because I didn't have enough fabric. I made a mistake when I was cutting out. I've got my binding piece, and that was just cut on the fold. That's longer than it needs to be, but that can be cut down. I've got my 2 flutter sleeve pieces there. I've got my front piece. I've got my back pieces. Now I cut 2 backs, which I will sew together and treat as one piece. I've got my 2 ruche waistband pieces, and I've got my 2 lining waistband pieces. That's everything. We can get sewing now. So I've just gone ahead and serged the side seams on the skirt. This is the front piece, and it's very important that the front goes on the front. At the centre front, it's a little bit shorter than the back. So I did this first because I want to hang this up so it can drop. Because it's cotton, it's probably going to drop at the side seams because there's a bias there. I'm going to hang this up while I work on the rest of the dress. So here's my 2 back pieces. So I'm going to baste them together. Open them up, wrong sides together. Like that. And I'm going to baste them together. Now, as I did with my last one, which you saw in the last video, I'm just going to put some of that inside the shoulder seam. Right, I've treated the back piece, so we've got 2 pieces of one. It's got stabilising inside, and so we can put that to the side now. So here I've got my two waistband pieces. So this is a ruche piece, this is the normal piece. So what we got to do now is work on those. I'm doing this all out of order from the instructions. If you get confused following me and the instructions, probably best to follow one or the other. We've got two pieces here. And what's going to happen is we will ruche these and it'll have that little ruching on the front in the waistband. So what I'm going to do is run a line of basting stitches down the edges on all four sides. You should probably do 2 lines of stitches, but I'll just do the one. The instructions tell you to lay your lining piece like this and then lay your ruche piece on top. I don't see the point of that. I think if we lay it that way, when you take your garment off, you're going to see the right side on the inside. And I just think that's going to look better because you don't see this side once it's completed. So now you want to put your waistband wrong sides down, then put your ruche piece over, and then you want to arrange the gathers evenly. So I've just put a pin in either side there, and I'm just going to even out the gathers. We've got a nice amount of gather there. So I'm going to do that to the other 3 sides and then do a line of basting down there. And then once that's done, we just treat both pieces as one piece. So I basted the ends down and then I sewed them together. So what I did is I just serged them separately. I used the lightning stitch there. I'll just need to press that in a minute. So I'm going to put that to the side now along with my back piece. This is the front bodice. So what we need to do is get the back bodice, the front bodice right sides together. So you've got to make sure you get the right side of the bodice there. So across that there. So I'm just going to serge the shoulder seams there, and then once we've done that, we'll put the binding in. So I've done my shoulder seams now. So now I'm going to attach my binding all the way around the edge. And what I'll do, as I'm attaching it, I will pull the binding slightly, and that will bring it in and make sure it gives you good coverage and you don't get any gaping. But first things first, I'm going to iron this binding in half, wrong sides together, like that, and then the raw edge will be lined up with the raw edge here. So it's a few days later now. I actually attached my binding and it went all wrong. So I gathered it in too much and had loads of pleats and gathers all the way around. I had no choice but to take it off. I'd also attempted to top stitch and understitch it, and it wasn't taking well to it. So I literally just cut all the way around it and cut it off. So what I've done is I've added a new binding, as you can see, and I've just done it with the serger because when I cut it off I lost some width there and I don't want to lose that width. I'm just having it as a binding. So I'm just about to iron it in place, having just sewn it, and I'm just going to keep it like that, and it can be a look. I had only scraps left. See on there, I've even used the salvage edge of it, but it was the only way to get my binding again out of the same fabric. So let's iron this bad boy. I think that'll look quite nice. So now we need to work on the sleeves. Here's my sleeves. It's going to be a flutter sleeve like that. So when I do this, I'll be doing this on the serger. So I've just pinned it 3 places. So the shoulder seam and each end. So here you can see I've got my sleeve stitched in. So even though I spread the sleeve out at the hem side so that it's got more width, it was exactly the same up here. And so it's still fitted into the sleeve hole. So before I sew up the side seams, I just want to iron along here so that I've got a nice mark for turning, and then we will sew the side seams up. we've got some markings here. So we've got Y, centre front, Y and a J. And they have to match up. And I hadn't actually even marked them. So let's do that. So there's my side seam there. So I've got all my got J, Y, CF and Y. So let's do that on the other side. I've done 2 rows of gathering stitches just there and on the other side. And I'll gather that up in a minute, and I've just done a basting stitch on the end. Time to get our band on. So here's our ruched band. Pinning at this stage is going to be so important. So what I've done is I've pinned the back to the waistband. So for the front, I pinned it and then I adapted my gathers so that it fit in with the other side, if you know what I mean. So now I need to attach the 2 parts of my waistband to the edge with the gathers. So I've gone ahead and attached the waistband to the top. I've got to press it in a minute, but you can already see how much more this is ruching compared to my last one. It's like a million times different, and I think it's because I had the ruched fabric tighter than the actual lining. So now we need to attach the skirt. So on this skirt piece, I have a front and a back because they're different lengths. There's my front piece because I've got an F on it there. Match this right sides together and then pin it all the way around. I've pinned it either side. Now I'm going to pin it in the middle, making sure to catch both layers. So now I've pinned it all round, being careful not to catch the ruching in the pinning. And I'm just going to serge all round the edge. And just like that, we have an almost completed dress. Now when stood up, that does come down a bit, but I'm hoping once it's on my body, it will tighten. If it doesn't, I will just put 2 lines of stitching down the princess seam line, and that will hold it in place, which is what I'm going to do with my other one. So all that's left to do is to hem the sleeves, also hem the hem. But what I'm going to do, try it on, make sure it fits okay. I'm also going to let it hang for a day because where this is cotton, I think it's cotton viscose mix, the sides are going to drop, and before I hem, I'm going to need to level it out. So I'm just going to give it a day to drop and then I'll finish it. So now we need to level off this skirt. So I'm just measuring the shortest points. So it comes just before 18 inches. You can see there that the top of the ruler is at my waistband, the bottom of the waistband. And so I'm thinking I can cut that to 17.5. But before I do, let's have a look at the centre back. Ideally, I would like the centre back a little bit longer than the centre front. I think we can go a whole inch more at the centre back. So I've marked there for the centre front, so 17.5. I think we can actually go 18.5 for the centre back. But as we get out to the sides, I will level it to 17.5. So as we come here, which is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So about 7 inches left. Well, I'm going to mark 18 inches, so that's half an inch up. Because on a circle skirt, the bias edge is always a bit longer anyway. I think we can keep it to 18. So you can see our line I've drawn there. I've just folded this, that's the centre back. I've folded it in half so that I can just cut my line across there. So that's the whole of the centre back done. Now we need to do the centre front. So if we're going to go 17 and a half, and as we go out we'll go to 18, and that should meet in a minute. Let's draw a line. So as you can see here, it's almost level. I'm going to bring them up another inch at the sides, but leave the front and see how we get on. Right, so now we've got the sides the same as the centre front, but we've got the quarter point there that is still hanging down. So what we need to do now is mark here and then trim that up. So I think it needs to come up 2 inches. And I think it's around here it needs to come up 2 inches. If I ruin this, it's going to end up a peplum. So I've pretty much levelled it off now. So just got to hem it. And do the tiniest hem because it's shorter than I would have liked. I'd have liked it below my knees, but it is what it is. Let's hem it. So I've just hemmed my hem. So I've been all round the houses with this. I tried cover stitching it. It wasn't having that. So I ended up double folding it and then doing a straight stitch close to the edge. And look how it's warped. I'm hoping giving it a good iron will sort that out. This fabric has been a nightmare from start to finish. I had similar issues around the neckband, which is why I just serged it in the end. But let's see what we can do with the iron. That's that done. That looks okay. Right, so I've got my sleeves here, and you know what, I'm just going to leave it raw because I don't want to risk ruining it. Enjoyed that. It was a lot of work to get this one done, especially because I was making it in cotton, and cotton does stretch out on the bias, so there was additional work around that. So I would say try to avoid a cotton composition jersey fabric, just because it's going to give you extra problems when you do a circle skirt. But if you're happy to do those extra measures, then just go for it. It is the softest thing. I feel like I've got secret pyjamas on, and this is absolutely lovely. This fabric was a complete beast to work with. It really was. I had so much problems top stitching, it just wasn't having it. I also tried to cover stitch it. The cover stitch wasn't having any of it either. As you can see here, I've got a binding rather than having it turn under, which is what the pattern has you do. But I quite like it as it is. Got my flutter sleeves, which you can't really see here, but I'll insert some footage or photos that you can see that. I've got it to ruche this time. Also, today is Feature Friday over at Love Notions. They've released the Sloan jumper, and you can get that for $5 only today, and we're at the end of the day now, so do head over and get that if you want. My affiliate link will be down below. I actually did a video about that where I did a lettuce hem, so if you want to know how to do that, do check out the video, which I will link below. And I made two versions, this one and this one, and absolutely love them. I still wear them today. They're so comfortable. So I hope you enjoyed seeing that process. My next video will be a new pattern release from Love Notions, which will be releasing on Tuesday, so do come back for that. I'm going to have a little bit of a different video for you. So until next time, happy sewing, stay safe, bye for now.